I'm going to open up a question to you all this morning to kick us off. Put on your thinking caps. This is a toughie. But I wonder if you could tell me this morning, if I pressed you hard enough, what is church? What is a church? What is its purpose? Is it simply the box that we reside in for a couple of hours on a Sunday morning? Is it the gathering of the people, whoever they happen to be? Is it only on Sunday? Is it something we carry with us? What is a church and what does it do? Keep that question in the back of your mind. It is perfectly all right if you do not have any answer at all for this question right now. It's a tough one. Lord knows there are some mornings I wake up and come to work and wonder what the purpose of all this is. And it's certainly a question that has challenged us a lot in the past. We came to a difficult point in our life as a congregation about 10 years ago when we were really getting down to the nitty-gritty of the project of raising this new building up. And we started 10 years ago by forming a small committee to get together and write what we called a charge to the architect. A document for the architect to tell them what it is that we wanted and were looking for in a new home for ourselves. And the committee dispersed and they went and they talked to one another and people in the congregation, and we made this document, which came back and said a lot about what we wanted in a physical space, and next to nothing in the end about who we were and why we wanted this space in this particular way, who we were as a people. And this was pointed out to us that our heart, our spark was missing. Our identity was missing from this document. We were trying to express who we were and what we needed. What stuck out to me the most in that document was a line that said, we seek to have a building, something along those lines of, we seek to have a building that will blend in to the natural landscape. And thinking about the hill that we're on over here, the first image that came to my mind was like a hobbit hole with a round door in it. And I knew that's not what nobody's gonna find that place unless they're creeping around, walking the trails, looking for the door. That's not what we're meant to be doing, hiding out. And so we hit the brakes on that process, and we took a couple of steps back. And we got together and had a weekend where we figured out who we were and what our purpose was. It was a weekend called Searching for the Future, and about 90% of the congregation came and took part in the weekend at the time, which is like the most oppressive attendance we've had for anything ever in my time here, because everybody individually had a sense of who we were and what we were supposed to be doing together, and everybody wanted to share that. And it all got tossed out onto the table, what we do well, what we don't do well, what we should do better, what we should keep on doing, and all of those ingredients got jumbled together, and we put together another small group to take it and put together for us a statement of our purpose and our personality, our mission and our vision. And for the last 10 years, these statements have been serving as a guidepost for us. Our mission at the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos, our minds, hearts, and doors are open. Enter a community of compassion and inquiry, venture out to shape a just, sustainable world. And our vision, where we want to be, who we want to be if we're carrying out our mission. We celebrate diversity of belief and seek unity in action. We are an inclusive, caring community that nourishes and challenges the heart and mind. People of all ages find a haven for spiritual and intellectual exploration and artistic expression. Living our 7 principles, we bring justice and compassion to our congregation, the community, and the world. We are a beacon of hope. We went from blending into the surroundings to becoming a beacon, about as far apart from on the polar scale as you can get. And what these are statements of purpose and statements of possibility. Not where we are, but where we hope to go. And as I've been saying for 2 weeks now, and you're probably sick of me hearing saying, but this is the summary of the last 3 sermons, to be a people of possibility, to be a people of faith, which is what we are, is to believe in the possibility for something better and to live that into reality, to live it into truth. And what these are statements of possibility, what we think is possible in the world. And there's a lot of words tied up in there, and so sometimes we tend to take bits and pieces of it and narrow down for our purposes when we need to focus in on something. And for a number of years, as we were working on our building project together, we took that idea of our doors are open, and our slogan was "Throw the doors wide open," a narrowing down of that mission statement, and a pretty good one too. And everything we did was really through that lens of what it meant to throw the doors wide open to the community, both physically and as a congregation. And it was a slog. And there were points where we didn't think it was going to happen, and we all put in a lot of time and effort and hard work. And eventually we got to here. This lovely space that we're in, because we focused all of our efforts on throwing the doors wide open. And now we have this lovely box that we occupy and do our work in. And then we moved in, and we were all really, really tired. I was tired, you were tired, we were exhausted. And we all kind of said, hey, let's give ourselves a break, a well-deserved sabbatical of a sorts from doing the next thing, because we were all worn out and we needed a rest. And we're here now, almost 3 years into occupying that space. And I don't know about you, for my part, I still kind of feel like I'm in that resting stage. Like we got here and we breathed in, and all of my paper has multiplied and taken over my office, and I'm just kind of occupying it. And we're just kind of doing what we've done. And there was a question that we needed to answer after we moved in here, and I don't think we ever quite got around to it. What's next? What else can we do with this mission? I think that is the question that we are going to have to struggle with and play with for the next year at least, if not the next few, to figure out who we are in relation to this mission and what else we can be doing. Kind of break out of this sense of a rut, a little bit of stagnation maybe. I know I'm feeling it personally in my ministry a bit. It's one of the reasons I asked for last month, and the board approved 4 months of sabbatical for me next year, so that I can take a break and get a new lens on what ministry looks like now that I'm not occupied with leading through a building project. What is my ministry now that we have arrived? But that's a question we all have to answer too, not just for myself personally, but for us as a congregation. It's time to look at what else our mission and our vision can be. Now, maybe it is that it's time to revisit those statements and see if they still apply, take some time to maybe revise them. The conventional wisdom says we should be looking at these every 5 years anyway to see if they still fit. Indeed, on our website, when we look at our vision statement, it says where we want to be in the next 5 years, and we're here at 10 with these statements now, so it's probably time to live up to that obligation at the very least. I've been wondering about the language of beacon myself for the last few months, because beacon seems kind of like a stationary, passive metaphor, doesn't it? The beacon just kind of sits on top of the hill and lights up, which is, great from a religious standpoint because we are the city on the hill and we are letting our light shine and not putting it in our basket. That's great. But there's an assumption in the beacon that people are going to see it and just follow it like moths and just arrive here. And as I was delving into Martin Luther King's mountaintop speech for last week's sermon, I realized there's a lot of richness in that mountaineering metaphor and what MLK did himself, because he didn't go to the mountaintop and stay there and say, hey, I'll come on up and see what I found. He came back down again and traversed those dangerous rocky paths back and forth to physically, emotionally, spiritually lead the way. He did not rest. So maybe there's something more active we could be doing in terms of being a beacon. Maybe it's a torch we're carrying up and down the trail instead of a lighthouse that we're building. And then as I look at what we've been doing in the 3 years since we've arrived here in this space, I realize that even without doing that kind of active review of what our mission and our vision is, we've kind of stumbled our way into that pathfinding, into that active showing the way in our community. We've been building partnerships with other organizations, both in Los Alamos and in northern New Mexico, through our financial gifts for sure, but also with our presence, with work for refugees, with work for LGBT, with work with our Native brothers and sisters through Tewa Women United. We have been building partnerships that we didn't have before, that have required us to get out and do things and make connections and be face to face with people. And ever since we built this lovely space for ourselves, we have been finding ways to literally open it wide to people who are in need of some safe space. We do a lot of rentals here for some businesses, but you might not be aware that we're also giving the space away free to 12-step programs, to a brand new support group for our trans family here in Los Alamos. People who need a safe space to be, we're opening the space and going out and finding people and making those connections. Those nodes are splintering off and the connections are growing. We're already doing the work without even revisiting the mission. So there we are, throwing the doors wide open without even actively advertising in the community or anything. And so I've been thinking a lot about what our mission is. If I had to set it into a single sentence now, if we've already thrown the doors wide open and we're trying to figure out what's next. And then somebody shared this tweet with me this week that I shared on my Facebook page as well, which just brought it all home. To be a pastor during this administration is to be about the proclamation of belovedness. You're an immigrant, beloved. You're queer, beloved. You're black, beloved. You're a woman, beloved. You're disabled, beloved. You are beloved no matter who you are, wherever you are on your life's journey. And there it is in our mission and our vision. We are a beacon of hope. It's just another form of being a beacon, of speaking in counter to what is going on in our world, to be in counter to hatred and divisiveness and mistrust, and to say, no, you are welcome and you are beloved. And there's the slogan we've been using on all of our letterheads and advertising for the last 3 years now. We just kind of stumbled into it. We are practicing a love beyond belief, declaring that everyone is beloved. And so if I were to put our mission and our vision into one sentence, to try to name what is next, I would say it is to proclaim the beloved community. That is the work we're called to do next within the mission we have already named for ourselves. It's not a new thought. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's just another variation on Jesus proclaiming that he was here to name that the kingdom of God was at hand. The beloved community is here. We are building it now. Not saying I'm trying to be Jesus in this case. I'm just saying it's a really good message and we should probably just stick with what already works. Our work is to proclaim the beloved community in the face of everyone who says there is no love for others. So here we are, stumbling ourselves backwards sometimes into a new sense of what our mission is. So what if, instead of just kind of falling into it, we looked for it on purpose? What if we engaged in a sense of play around the notion of who we are and what our sense of self is as a congregation? What if we had fun with it? I'm big on play right now. The few of you here who are taking my improv for spiritual practice know it's all about play ultimately. Amazing things happen in our spirits when we just open ourselves up to a sense of playing with one another. And I bring that up because I love this example. When we're doing scene work in improvisation, when we really kind of get into the meat of it, it's because we found the hook in what's going on. We're creating a world together, and as soon as the first unusual or out-of-place thing happens, as soon as we find the interesting thing in that world, that becomes the hook that we build everything together on, what we call the turn of the scene, or the game of the scene. And the games all look different, but they all come down to this one question. If this is true and this is real, then what else could be true in this situation? Now, in performance, it usually goes into the realm of the absurd, but in life, it's still a great guiding question. If we have discovered this truth, this turn, this thing that is seemingly out of place in the world that is a part of who we are, if this is what we do differently and well, then what else is true? What else could we do? If this is true, if this is what we are trying to live into reality together, in the face of what the Vox Populi might want to say otherwise, if this is true, what else is true? If this is what we want to be real, what else can we live into reality? This is my challenge to all of us in 2019. Whether you've been here for 40 years or 4 minutes, you're here, I think, because you have a sense of who we are, even if we're not always good at naming it. And you have a part to play in the playing of that game, in the making of something real. In the face of hatred and mistrust, this is what makes us unusual and worthy of your time. So if this is true, what else is true? What else could this be? Because here we are. We have this box. It's a pretty cool box. And it holds all these wonderful, like-hearted people with all of their joys and all of their sorrows, with all of their hopes for the future and all of their doubts. And we come together for a few hours on a Sunday to figure out how we're just going to get through the rest of the week on our own or maybe together. It's a pretty heavy box. It's filled with so much other potential. What else could this be?